Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. Good evening. Apart from good evening to Rishi Sunak and the Tories, good day to you guys. Enjoy tomorrow. It's going to be a fun day. Anyway, good evening, guys. Welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. Kev and Willem to with me tonight. And we have got some big news in store for you guys at home. Mats Weifer coming out today. Anthony Gordon, more on Summerville. A little bit on Lenny Yoro, and also Trent possibly getting a start at England as well this weekend, according to the rumours coming out. What did Liverpool fail on? We will get into it, Hendrik. Don't you worry about that. We will certainly get into it. And as we always do on Thursday night streams, we do not speak as politicians do. We make sure we tell you the truth and we give you it real from our opinions on the situations that are going on. Kev, how long did it take you to write "fuck the Tories" on the voting slip today, then?
It took me a long time because my English isn't all that good. But it was, as I say, being out voted. I'm sure everyone else does. Happy Independence Day to everyone in America as well. It is what it is, mate. I've been out voted. I've done my bit. Everyone else needs to do theirs. So we move on. How are you?
So you can do. Done your bit.
Yeah.
It's been a nice day, hasn't it? It's been a nice day. A bit windy. But it's been a nice day, so I'm always happy when it's a nice day. William, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, all good. I have not had the same political experience throughout my day as you obviously had, but for the rest, it's been a different experience in a different manner. So yeah, no, but all good for the rest.
Liverpool news, obviously, it always filters in on days where something else takes over, sort of thing, and it always goes in the background of Liverpool news, but Liverpool Twitter is always on alert on what goes on, especially Fabrizio Romano coming out yesterday, also replying to our very owner, Matt himself, saying that Liverpool will do business. So let's see if Fabrizio will hold you to that. Going straight into tonight's topic then, guys, Mats Weifer, Feyenoord's defensive midfielder. Willem, you're the Dutch expert here. You know, that's where your family's from, Feyenoord. We got a little bit of a debate going on in the chat earlier about it all, and miscommunication with what was said in the actual original reports, and obviously you've read it in Dutch, so you probably know better than anyone else of what we actually said. What originally came out was Liverpool did move too late for Mats Weifer, and Brighton ended up going in for him and agreeing a verbal agreement with him. It was pretty similar to what happened to Moises Caicedo at Chelsea. Chelsea worked up earlier on in January. They made the contact earlier on in January, got the deal done, and he had his height set on Chelsea until Liverpool came in a late bid thinking they could get it. Didn't work out. Willem, what is going on? What is going on? What initially was it said in Dutch?
Well, what basically was just reported was that Brighton had gotten the breakthrough, obviously, to getting the verbal agreement done with Feyenoord for the initial fee and the add-ons and everything that was going on. And then after pretty much, I think, because it was more, the article originally came out and then it got updated about 5 to 10 minutes later. And that's where the Liverpool interest also got included into it. Now, the two guys reporting it, myself on the gun, and I think it was Mike Verwey was the other guy as well who said it, are pretty much two of the most reliable journalists in Holland, I'd say, when it comes to football news and stuff and everything. So they don't tend to be guys who report these things who just say it for the sake of saying it or include a name just because the new Feyenoord manager or the old Feyenoord manager is now the new Liverpool manager and they thought it's an easy link. So I do think it's definitely there was probably some interest in there from us, but I think we've done the same as what we've done throughout the last years a lot, which is I think we inform a lot and inquire a lot about players in general, but we just keep the information and sit on it. Both just kind of sit on it in the way with we don't really advance with the club and we maybe stay in contact with the agent, but we don't really talk through the details, kind of discuss the details of what an eventual deal or what the placement kind of would look into it until we get pushed into these moments. So obviously with Gakpo last year, we had it. It looked really close at Man United. We're going to go in for him. I even remember reading the Fabrizio Romano report at one point.
Pretty much done,
yeah. No, pretty much done. He's going to go to United, and then we swept in, and then still got him in the last minute. Obviously, the year before that, we did that with Luis Diaz as well. Spurs were pretty much going to go in for him, swooped in last minute, and we got done with it. I think we just did what we normally do, which is try and hijack a deal where we think, okay, this is a good value. We can get out of this now and do it. But it's just backfired on us. And I think I'm almost more annoyed at the fact that we're getting part of our fans who just can't acknowledge, okay, our hijack tactic has backfired, but it is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, the decision's been made. We've probably wanted. I've also said we've probably wanted to go to Brighton because for him as a development path as a player, it's guaranteed more minutes. It'll be different expectations as well. So he can really focus on his own development side on it. And Liverpool can't necessarily guarantee that because we've got about 12 midfielders. And the second as well is on it, obviously, well, he'll have to prove that he is at least better than either Endo or Bajcetic and at least pushing the other one to its ceiling. And that is something, obviously, which is a bigger risk seeing into it and a different kind of pressure that Wieffer will receive than necessarily, he will receive at Brighton. So I think it has been more of a simple case of that, but I think we've just been trying to be really smart and it's just kind of backfired on us. And now we're a bit in denial of like, oh no, we weren't really ever interested.
Yeah, they'll shut the reports down like it didn't.
Yeah. Then later on it comes out, oh no, the interest was never concrete. No. But at the same time, it's very easy. You can brief some of your sources around there. Obviously, Liverpool and Feyenoord right now have a good relationship from the transition with Slot and with them, their management group and stuff and everything. So even from their side, I can imagine that they said to Feyenoord, like, look, can you just report as well that the interest wasn't concrete or stuff or anything? Like, because that is something that you can do between clubs. Southampton did it as well. Southampton for a long time last year with Lavia didn't say anything about a bid of 50 million going in at the end when he was bound to go to Chelsea after we missed out on Caicedo. And it wasn't until the CEO from Southampton came out 3 weeks later confirming that we had put in a final bid of £50 million as well. But then it was too late already because Lavia had already made his choice. So I don't know. I'm kind of just more feeling that on it where it's like, it's okay to swallow our pride. We can also just say like, look, we missed on it. We didn't get it. We thought we could get a smart deal over the line and it just didn't happen.
I think it's quite ignorant and also to view it where if Liverpool come in, why are you saying no to Liverpool sort of thing? We shouldn't view players like that. Not every player is a Liverpool fan. At the end of the day, in the players that play for us right now, they're not tied down to us being Liverpool fans. Most of them, if Real Madrid come in for, or Barcelona come in for Diaz, for example, Diaz has every right to want to go there. He's not a Liverpool fan at the end of the day. It's the same with the players that want to come to us. If he sees the Brighton chances the next step in his career, and maybe White will go to Liverpool further down in the career, but right now it might not be. And even like when say like we go into a transfer with Chelsea, something like Arsenal, London might be a better place to live at. You know what I'm saying? Than other places. Some people don't see it like players see things differently to Liverpool fans. Obviously, if someone came up for us three, if Liverpool came in, I'd take a lower wage. I'd take 50 quid a week at Liverpool. You know what I'm saying? Rather than 10 grand a week at my head. That's what I'm saying. But players around the world don't think like that because they're not Liverpool fans. Most of them are not Liverpool fans. Anthony Gordon is. That's why he's probably twerking a little bit more for Liverpool because that's his boyhood club at the end of the day. Just going back to what Paul says here. Hi, guys. The election in Canada is so boring. You guys have it lucky so much. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky actually, mate. I've pissed myself in excitement. I've been talking about Mats Weifer for months. For 25 million, it is malpractice, but for us to let him go is the done deal at Brighton. There has been a verbal agreement according to Marcel van der Kraan, who works for the Telegraph in Holland. As Willem said, a very, very reliable journalist over there. The only sort of outlet that did put it down with the concrete was 1908 NL, which is more a Feyenoord close. But Willem just said there, it could be pushed out by the Feyenoord lot to sort of push it back where it's not as concrete as just to make us look a bit better with the slot links. Kev, what's your thoughts? At least we're going for a DM, Kev. That's the main thing.
Which wasn't a priority by all accounts. I'll be honest, mate. I've kept myself well away from all the talk and all the melee because you end up like Paul being frustrated and crying out that you've been going on about this for months and months and months. Problem is, we're in a bit of a transition at the top. The structure's changed. We've been waiting for a new manager to come in. He's been waiting for, the work permits to be agreed on his backroom staff. Some of them haven't worked out. So there's been a lot of things going on. We'll find more out tomorrow because he does his first press conference tomorrow. So, we'll be able to, and we'll hopefully get indicated as to how much of an interest it was into Mats Wieffer. I haven't paid much attention, if I'm being honest. And I'm not going to because there's no point, because I don't want to get frustrated and annoyed with players that aren't a Liverpool player. probably weren't even on the cards to be a Liverpool player. So I'm not getting that emotion in there to feel that. Other than that, you know, his stats say that he's a good thing. It'll be a great buy for us. Paul probably thinks the best thing out there that we could do because of the value of the money that you're paying for him. I'm a little bit concerned about it's a Feyenoord player and we're going back and doing what United did with Ajax, and I don't know whether that will bite you on the arse. I may be wrong, but that's my own opinion. But other than that, mate, I haven't paid much attention. I've kind of took a backward step and took.
You've been too busy trying to get the Tories out. That's what you've been doing today.
No, but no. The thing is, though, we've talked a few times, Damon, and I think Williams there as well. The amount of players that we're talking about since May, it's been ridiculous. The amount of players that we're after and who we're not after. You know, it gets a little bit excited over the weekend, in which, you know, there was about 800 messages, but still no one signed. In our chat, a further 12, nearly 1,200 by the end of the yesterday. It's great. And it's great that we're having these debates. The problem is that we get too attached, I think, as fans to certain players that we see. And especially this time of year, especially when we got the Euros and you're seeing players playing well, you know, players doing more than what we've actually seen. And then it gets you excited as well. But no, I'm trying to keep my emotions intact. And, you know, if we do sign a player, I want to be excited when we do sign that player, because it then makes it more exciting for us, rather than being disappointed and then making comparisons for the whole season to say at the end of it, oh, I proved you right or you were wrong. Do you know what I mean? So
wouldn't it be better though if there were just 0 reports like for the whole summer?
Oh, it'd be great.
If it was just like put a ban on it and then just sign players.
It was like. I talk about the 80s as though like it was great, but it was because you didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to have seen everyone's face when we were about to sign Michael Laudrup, and then we blew it up ourselves by asking more for a 5-year deal instead of keeping him on a 3-year deal. It's things like that, and then, you know, Beardsley, Barnes signed in a matter of days, and you didn't even know about it. It was great, and the only time you knew about it was when they were leaning at Melwood, and you go, wow. No way. Do you know what I mean? And I'd love us to go back to that, but everyone wants to be the first to say it. So that's why we have so many clickbaits and now so many people and people playing Football Manager and providing names out of the hat that we haven't seen. People having a good time in the Euros, first time we've seen them, so people jump on that bandwagon. You know, and I get it. It's great. But, you know, I think as fans, we want a bit of transparency. We'd like to know who we're after and what kind of priority we've got. But then that does us in the actual window itself if you start going down that road. But I'd sooner be it'll be all mooted until we sign someone.
That'd be a much easier life. Obviously, we won't have much to talk about, but still, it would be a bit much easier life just for everyone just arguing over debates and stuff. And when they bring the stats thing, you mentioned about the stats, it's like, the best thing to do about these players, the players that you prefer, is watch them fucking play football, because stats need absolute context. It's all right saying Weifer's this guy, he's playing in the Dutch league. No disrespect to Dutch league, but, you know, if he's got these stats in Dutch league, can that be pushed onto the Premier League? Can he keep those stats? That's the thing. You've got to watch the player, and you'll see just after a few games of watching him play, you can see he's got something about him. You don't need stats to prove that, and stats can be completely. They can look better than what they are. John Henson will have a better passing percentage than Steven Gerrard. Doesn't mean he's a better player, better than Steven Gerrard. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just safer with the ball. Stats only take you so far. You need to start watching. You know, people need to start watching the actual games and start basing an opinion on watching the players themselves. Kimmich is 40 years old or something. Someone said there. Get Kimmich at this point. The uppers need to say what the plan is. Nouri is coming. Is it now? There's not really been said about Nouri since a few weeks ago, I think now. Do you think the lack of movement on transfers are concerning? I think, James, this is the question. This is the question. Is it concerning? And for me, I said it to Kev last week. I'm being very patient. I think we'll do business, and I have faith in everyone's getting the right business if we do business. But will I think it's enough? No, that's my honest opinion. I don't think we'll get the right. I think we'll get the right business if we do make the business, but I don't think we'll get enough, and that's because of the experience of the last few years where this has happened. Where last year we left the defensive midfielder short. The year before we didn't even address midfield, despite everyone wanting a midfield. And it seems to be, I said it last week, didn't I, Kev? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It seems to be how many times can you get hit before you start challenging, why are you hitting me? Asking why you're hitting me.
I know. But it is that, though. And people will be concerned. But I think we said last week, until the Euros had finished or comes to an end, is when you're going to actually start seeing business being done.
Yep.
And if you look at it now, there's not much movement around other clubs. I think Arsenal probably are going in for the Italian defender that we were after. That's the only thing that's coming out. Maybe Edison leaving City.
And De Bruyne.
Yeah. But so there's a few rumours, but there's nothing concrete that's out there as yet. I think from our point of view, as I've said before, it's a transition period. I'd like to have seen some in, but the way it's gone, I'm not too concerned. I think we've gone down this structured route of stats and data and analysis, and I think we will get the right players that will be brought in. It won't necessarily be the players that we're looking at now. There may be a few that we've overlooked or haven't talked about, and they're the ones that it may be. But the old stories will be churned out because there's not much going around the actual, and it doesn't help with the 2-day gap in between the games now that there's not much football stories out there. So you're getting a lot of old messages. You're probably getting
people getting bored. People getting bored. That's what it is.
Yeah. And at certain times you've got to spin it in a different way. Just for the audience, just to keep it going out there. You've done that yourself, Damon. We've talked about that in the past about the amount of times you've had to talk about Nunes and all that. It's hard when you're writing and you're actually trying to be informative with fans, because fans want a lot more than what you're giving. And there'll be certain things that you won't be allowed to say. There'll be certain things that you are explicit to, but you're not necessarily being able to put that down in words for until the right time. You may be, we've seen it with Indy a few times where he alleges that he can't say stuff at the time he says because the lawyers are being out, etc. So you don't know what's going on. But for me, it's all part of the drama and the rigmarole that we put ourselves through every transfer window. So, ideally we'd like players in on the first day and then that's it, our business is done. But then people get annoyed that we've all done our business at once and we've gone too early, we should have waited. You're never going to please everyone, though. That's the sad thing about it. So that's why
that's the thing. There's always going to be people that go too far. We'll get a DM, a right winger, a left back, a centre back, and there's always going to be someone. Oh, why didn't we get this? Why didn't we get that? There's always going to be someone. There's people out there, but there's also people that will be happy with no signings at all. And that actually is that people will be happy. Like, oh, we didn't need to improve, but we clearly do need to improve at some point. I feel sorry for Slot if we do let him down, but I think you don't need to be all of one and all of the other. I think there's definitely a middle ground on every single thing, really. We say all the time, middle ground is absolutely where everyone should be, I think. Now, Kev, India's burgers, clickbaiter. India's actually more reliable than Rishi Sunak, Paul, mate, if I'm honest. That's another thing, actually. The Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold deals as well, Willem. That's another thing that hasn't been sorted out. Do you think they're putting them in first, or...?
To kind of like come back on Kev's point, so I'm actually what you said of like if you do all your business early, you'll get people saying that at the end of the transfer window they'll be like, oh, we've done our business too early. I'm very much an advocate of get your business done as early as possible because then you just get it out of the way. And for me, especially more for this summer, I really put an emphasis on the fact that we have a new manager coming in and it's a different philosophy, and it's the fact that obviously yes, he has to wait until he has those first couple of training sessions with the squad, and he can kind of look at the squad. But for example, Matip's left the club. We all know, without being a coach ourselves or without having been there ourselves, that we have Gomez, who has a pretty, a concerning injury record. Apart from this season where he has been quite good, he hasn't really had any much troubles. And we obviously have Kanate, who is. Kanate is almost like Jota, but at the back, where it's like, there's going to be a period of about 2 months in the season where he's going to be out. And if we don't replace that, or our replacement for it is kind of throwing Sepp van den Berg to the Lions, or just kind of seeing whoever can, if it's a sink or swim, it can obviously, like the top 6 sides in the Premier League, or the point difference have been quite big between the top 3 and the 3 behind it. It can change very quickly. And that is something where I often worry about more, where I'm like, okay, we can see with the squad that we have right now, we definitely have something good that we can build on. That I don't think any of us are expecting a title challenge, but we're expecting a good season in general, which is top 4, see how far you can get in the cups, hopefully maybe win one, and we'll see where it goes from there. And it's just more, it's more the frustration where I'm like, there are some bits that maybe we could have been a bit more advanced on, even though an international tournament is on, because at the same time, we were talking to Gordon's agent last weekend when he's at the Euros in England playing, and Polina's going to Bayern right now, whilst, like, you know, that deal got announced pretty much the day after they went through against Slovenia. So there are things happening, of course, and there are quite a few teams who have gone home now as well. So there are, like, with Calafiori and Arsenal now, like, there are things that are starting and that are going. And I think it's a combination of just like I said as well, for the shit show reporting, honestly, that we get. I'm sick and tired of every week hearing that something isn't a priority and then something else becomes a priority again. And then it just keeps on going on in a cycle. I think that's also just something with a lot of us fans where we're just going completely mad because we're getting different indications every week.
I mean, you said about this deal going on, but Mats Wieffer didn't even go to the Euros. So that if you know, we should have been in for him earlier. You know what I'm saying? So there's no excuses on Mats Weifer. Obviously, the other ones, it's absolutely typical that Euro's on when we get a new manager and Copa America's on as well. One player that could be a laptop signing, Anthony Gordon. I don't know where he plays. Don't know who he is. Never heard of him. Anthony Gordon. Obviously, Liverpool was offered him last week by Newcastle pretty much on a plate because Newcastle wanted to get their finances sorted. Liverpool are interested in the player because he's a Scouser, you know, English, born and bred Scouser, boyhood club. It does make sense if we were to get rid of someone like Diaz to bring a Gordon in for competition for Gakpo, for example. But his agent is actually pushing it according to Luke Edwards for the Telegraph. And according to Luke as well, that he's been speaking to England teammates about this. But wouldn't you, though, Kev? Scouser, Liverpool, say you, Kev, play for Newcastle. You've been offered to Liverpool. You're going to be twerking, aren't you?
You would be. And I always thought the journey would be similar to what Steve McMahon did at when he left Everton. He then goes to Villa for a season and then goes to Liverpool. It kind of dilutes that kind of Nick Barmby feel about it if it does happen. Yeah, you would be talking about it. I think what's happening now is that there's a narrative going out now that Newcastle are going to try and point this solely onto Gordon and his agents for pushing for this. But the problem is that when you highlight and speak to a club about a player who's from the city and has grown up and his family are all Liverpool fans, then you've pushed that. You've already turned his head. Now, however disciplined you are, if that's your boyhood club and they're coming in for you, nothing is going to stand in your way. So there's an element of that. There's an element of Newcastle, as I've said, trying to look better out of this than what they actually are. And they're trying to show the narrative that, wait there, this isn't on us, this is on him. He wants to go. It's just a typical, Scouser, he's doing this. He doesn't love us as much as what he says. If it happens, I always thought it would have happened. It may happen more so next season rather than this season. However, I'm open to be totally wrong. And if we are interested, I think we're the only club interested in for him. And I think we're the only club he probably would want to go to. So unless he decides to go abroad, which I don't think is in his at the moment he wants to do. He's young, he's versatile. There's more potential in him than what there is in Luis Diaz, who's 27 and is reaching his peak. So that's where I would say that Gordon has a little bit on Diaz in that sense. His stats may look similar, but you've got someone who's playing for a lesser team than what Diaz is. And can Diaz make that jump again and be more consistent in his contract, or do we take it as it is, let him go and bring in a young, energetic, forward running player who's got the potential to get a little bit higher than what he actually is at the minute? Sounds exciting. We just need to see what happens. But I do think it's a narrative now of Newcastle trying to persuade their fans that it's
he's
not,
trying to
it's
push out
down
the
to
door.
them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He's trying to get the Newcastle fans back on side, even though them ones that they offered it out in the first place. And as God, even if it wasn't Liverpool coming in, your club's offering you on a play to other club. Even that, that still sways you and think, hang on a second, where do you value me here? You just want to accuse me to get your money sorted and your finances sorted. And you made a very good point about the stats as well. Like, you might have similar stats as Diaz, but again, context needs to be used every single time. This guy's playing in a team that had half the team out for the season, not as much talented players around him. He's going to get more goals with Mac and Trent passing him. You know what I'm saying?
The good thing about Gordon is he actually scored in big games as well. He scored against us.
Yeah.
He looked good against us. He scored. I think he scored against United as well. So when he has scored, they've counted and they've been big goals that he's actually scored for Newcastle. That's something that you need to look at. Is a thing that he does need to work on is potentially, his assist. Again, that's something that Diaz needs to work on. But you're talking about two players at different levels of their actual game. You've got players who are who's potentially not even reached his peak against a player who was currently in his peak. So, he isn't going to... How much further can you get out of Diaz and squeeze out of him? It's not necessarily going to be the same amount of sponge as what you'll have with a Gordon, where potentially you could take that player a lot higher than what he currently is playing at.
And again, we've Gakpo playing the way he is as well. It's like, this isn't the Gordon situation. He's going to be replacing Diaz, not Gakpo. It shouldn't be the Gakpo situation is not in the conversation, because Gakpo's doing his thing right now, and it's going to be hard for Diaz to get that. If Gakpo gets started by Slot, we don't know yet, but he probably will be. It's going to be hard for Diaz to get that spot back over him. He needs to focus on getting that spot back, and competition's competition, boys. That's what it is. Yeah. If we lose Diaz, we get Gordon in. It's just competition between Gordon and Gakpo. That's better for us, because we've got two people that want to keep each other on his toes. Very, very good players. Willem, at what point do we... It's hard, because I want to see Diaz play well. I'd rather Diaz play well, not waste money on a position we don't really, really need right now. But if Diaz were to go, what would you let him go this summer and get someone like Gordon in?
Yeah, I've at the start I was thinking, well, maybe not, and maybe he's just had a hard season, and like this maybe the struggle with his dad being kidnapped in Colombia and stuff and everything was kind of taking a bigger effect on his season overall than maybe what we realized and stuff and everything. But I have kind of just looked back on his time, even when he had the half season when he came in and when he signed, and he was unbelievable. Statistically, his output was not great, and it just never really has been. And I think for the way that we want to play and for the way we expect our wingers to play, especially, well, we had Bobby before, and Bobby obviously was the one who linked up everything and did everything to make sure that everyone plays up. Now we have a number 9 who is very chaotic and can do a lot of stuff, but he misses a lot of his big chances. So obviously, like, to get the goals that we used to get from our front line isn't necessarily coming from that area. And if we then also have a left winger who also, because I'm doing it off the cuff, but I think Diaz's stats for goals and assists last season in the Prem alone was, I think, 7 goals and 5 assists. And
something around that, yeah.
Yeah, and then Anthony Gordon had 11 goals and he had 10 assists in the thing, because that. So he had double the assist Diaz had as well in a worse team, and what I think he played about 3 more games than Diaz overall.
Not much more.
Yeah, I think it is getting to a point now where, especially also with his contract situation, that in 2 years' time it will be running out, or 3 years. I don't know which one. I don't know if Diaz has it until 2026 or 2027. But I think also with that, I think it is now coming to a point where it is probably a time to move on. And the fact that his dad keeps twerking around to every club that has a sunny climate, just kind of also really starting to rub me the wrong way. I'm not going to lie. So,
hey, it's sunny today, isn't it, Kev? It's sunny today up there.
It is. It's lovely here.
Don't know what he's got, does it? Don't know what they've got until they miss it, until it's gone. So, Kev, explain to Paul whose jersey you have on the background.
Right, so the first one that you see on the left, that's the 1977 European Cup winning team. It's all signed by the players apart from one, which is Kevin Keegan. And the one right behind me is Pele from 1970.
the Pele, the great man himself. Kevin Keegan. Why didn't Kevin Keegan sign it? Is there a reason for that? Is there?
There isn't. However, I'm going. I've booked tickets.
You're gonna hunt him down. You're gonna hunt him down.
Oh no, I have. I've tried to hunt him down as much as I can. I don't want to go to a Newcastle thing. I want him to go to a Liverpool thing.
Yep.
I met him at a charity do, and I forgot to take his agent's name and email address because he said he would sign it. So I've paid to see him in September or November time with my mate who's got a similar one, and we're getting them both signed. The problem is, it's the magic hat and that of trying to undo that frame, take it out, and put it back exactly the same. So we'll see how good of a job.
Putting a frame, yeah. Anyone that's put a shirt in a frame, I know how you feel. You iron it, and one little off, one little bit that comes off, it just doesn't look right. Kingsley Coman is available. What do you think of him, John? Willem, I'll let you answer that. What do you think of Kingsley Coman being available?
Nah, I'm okay.
There
Very
you go,
injury
John.
prone as well.
We only do blunt one word answers here, John. There's no going into that one. Anyway, it's a shame Jay's not here tonight. Jay was down to come on, but also things came up. It's a shame that Jay wasn't here tonight because we are going to talk about his favourite player, Summerville. And according to reports by Via de Veres, who works for ESPN in Holland, he has said that Slot has had personal talks with Summerville. Willem, Summerville, where do you stand on him?
Look, he's not a bad player. I think that's something to kind of bring up first. He is still very young as well. I think he's 22 or maybe 23 even now by this point as well. There are things in there that in him as a player which there is potential there. The problem is he's never been a very consistent player, even throughout his seasons coming up. And I think probably the most consistency he's had now has been this season in the Championship. But then you are banking on a winger whose best season has been in the Championship whilst he's 22, 23, and he has had that period to play in the Prem before. And he has played in Holland before that, and he never really kind of reached those numbers. And that is a different kind of opposition. I mean, Championship and Eredivisie at this point, honestly, the majority kind of go head to head.
Bigger. Yeah. Championship is probably bigger.
They would. I think apart from the big three teams, I think any Championship team can have any Eredivisie team pretty much on their day. Like there's like a few decent ones between like 4th and maybe 9th, who maybe on their day could, more or less. But like even them, it depends on their day and how they show up. But I personally wouldn't go anywhere near it. I think there are better options. I saw someone mention it before. Obviously the Nico Williams would be there. Look, Nico Williams would be my number one target. Except I have very good reason to believe that Nico Williams will not leave Bilbao. So I'm pretty much going to stick to that, and I'm afraid that that he's just. I think he's going to rule himself out anyway after the Euro. So I don't think he'll be going anywhere. So it does kind of leave it where right now, if you look at it, the two options between Gordon and Summerville, from what I've seen, so not reading it off stats, from what I've seen from both players, it's Anthony Gordon every time.
Yeah, and I back that. I mean, being someone from that lives near Leeds and being around Leeds fans all the time, and I watch Leeds quite often because it's always on the telly. People are always watching it. Leeds fans live up here. They're always on Sky. The seem to be on Sky like Liverpool are in the Premier League. Leeds are always on Sky, so I'm always watching Leeds games. Very, very good player, but it's just not Liverpool style. It's just not Liverpool level, and that's it. And if we do end up going for him, and if we end up getting him, then I think it's quite an underwhelming sign. It might work in certain games, but it is quite underwhelming from my point of view. I'm hoping it proves me wrong. If we did get him, Kev, where do you stand on Summerville?
I don't think I could add any more than what you and William have said on it. I think that covers everything and covered it very well, to be honest. The only thing I'd add to it is get another Dutch player we're linked with. So, there seems to be a narrative around this that, we are just looking at Dutch players. Not saying that there's anything bad with that, but I just think it's, we've got a Dutch manager, so we're going to start going down this route. I may be wrong. I think he's too inconsistent, and I can't add any more than what William said, to be honest. So, because he summed it up perfectly. And I agree. If you're giving me the option, it's Gordon 2 million%.
Yeah. Who's your number one? Is it Williams? I mean, Williams and Leao are up there for me as well.
Do you know what? The two Spanish lads on either wing, him and the 16-year-old would be fantastic. The problem is that Nico Williams' wages are about 350k, something like that. I don't think it'll be a concern with the dressing room. It's just I don't know whether we would be willing to pay that, or he goes a little bit lower and do it with incentives like we always do with more of a bonus. So it'll be those two for me, because they've got the energy and I've got the potential to be absolute worldies, and I'd sooner be in that bracket than looking at average championship players who can do it every 4 or 5 games. I want someone who has the ability to back up what they're doing with assists and goals, and those two at the minute would be the ones I'd be looking at.
It'd be if we got someone like Yamal. Wow, 16. I'm not even going into it, Kev. I'm not even going to get a spare pair of boxers just for the thought of it, because at the end of the day, I know for a fact that we won't go for anyone like that, and we should do though. That's the thing, though. We should be at least try Barcelona. They're probably wanting money, Barcelona. They're desperate for money at the moment. Cheeky bid. 60 million.
You could do it on a mortgage with them, couldn't you? You could do it on a 25-year mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they do everything else like that. So,
I mean, regarding Williams as well as his wage, I think the whole structure of the whole transfer should be looked at. The whole, including the wage and the transfer fee, as well. The fee and the transfer fee together. So, like, if we were to get someone like Gordon 80 million and his wage is 200k, but we've got Williams at 35 million and at 300k. Williams is quite a similar deal all in all when you add up all the money together. So
it's almost more as in, like, for the reported price that Summerville's going about for 35 to 40 million pounds, and then seeing that Nico Williams has a 45 to 50 million release clause. It's a no-brainer for me as well.
Exactly,
You pay 10 million more for something that's guaranteed, or at least more guaranteed than Summerville would be at that level.
I mean, paying 40 million for Summerville when Williams is there for 45 million, that. I can't explain the stupidity of that, if I'm honest. I really can't. I'm beyond words on that. It's 170k a week, actually, boys. Williams' wages is higher, but release clause is way less than cost of Gordon. I mean, he's got to look at the full package sometimes. I heard he wants 300k to come to the Prem, but if 300k, like Kev said, it might not upset the dressing room. But if he comes at 300k and he starts winning those trophies, I don't think no one gives a shit. If I'm honest, Van Dijk asked the other week, asked the other year about bringing players, and he wanted players in. He wants a legacy. He wants to win trophies. We said it last week, didn't we, Kev? If he retires at a certain age and he looks back at his thing, why aren't I 300k a week? And this guy was. He wouldn't be looking at that. He'd be looking at what he's won.
No, the thing is, and I think Sean is right, because he's on about €200, so it will probably work out about 170 euro. Apologies for that. But no, it's I think we get caught up in this wage as though, like, we're paying it. At the end of the day, if there's money there, look how much we paid Thiago, and people were kicking off about that. It doesn't concern me how much we pay the wages, and I don't think it concerns the players. But if you're in what it does say about the player is, if you're more concerned about the money and rather than going to, like, say, a Chelsea where there's no actual hope and there's no actual way of playing, you're just going for the money, then that's when
that's different, isn't it?
It has to be questioned. But if you and that's why you have to look at certain things, and that's why we have to say, it's all very well that we want Williams, but there's certain things that need to come about that. Why is the release clause so low? It's mainly because either there's agent fees that are going to be sky high. Look at Bellingham. Look how much Bellingham cost, and then we find out that his dad wants 20 million for just talking to the player. His mum wants 10 million because she had him, gave birth to him. You don't know all the intricacies as to what's going on. So it is what it is. But I'll be honest, if you're in Liverpool's first team and you're sitting there, there's no concern on your face about he's on such and such amount of money, because every time you look around, there's a leader and there's a voice, and that's where there's a difference, and that's where you want the players to come in. And I don't mind playing for the quality. Look at Thiago. People will be critical of the amount of money we paid on him, but on his day he was worth it and more because of how he entertained the fans and what he gave on the pitch when he did play. It looked as though he'd never been away. That's how good he was, and the quality. And I don't mind paying for quality, especially when they're backing it up with figures. But when it does come a concern is when we're throwing money away, like we could do with Summerville, and we throw money down the line. That it ends up being the amount of the equivalent of a Nico Williams, and that's when I get a little bit frustrated and angry with it, because it's a missed opportunity for me. Then when we start looking at it that way,
the only time the wages probably become a little bit more of a problem is if they're not performing. And that's where you get, that's why, United players are getting the stick that they're getting, because a lot of them are performing on high wages. They didn't come in to ask for the high wages, by the way. They didn't ask for the fee either. They just come in whatever the agents sort them out, whatever the club sort out of the fee. So putting wages and fees on these players, saying, you've got to do this, you've got to be this level at this price. It's not on them, really. They've not asked to be that price either. But if it becomes a problem with wages, it is, again, because they're not performing, or they've got an attitude problem, or something like that. That's away from what the wages. It comes away from the wages, though. That comes more of the person to person. And if they perform, like I said, if they perform, then they're worth the money for me. We're paid 85 million for Nunes, and there's still a couple of people that are literally not even batting an eyelid on him at the moment. So it swings and roundabouts. I think every footballer's got on a decent wage anyway. I'd love to be on, a millionth of what they're on. We'd be all happy, wouldn't we? We'd be all literally. Like I said, I'd play football for Liverpool like a 10-hour week, like Willem said. But that's just football at the moment, and the wages are just ridiculous anyway, regardless who it is for. Thoughts on Martin, says Paul Linder. Martin is very, very, very good in the Championship this season. And again, I'd like to see him in pre-season, see what he is. But again, it doesn't mean that I want to not go get a 6 because we've got Martin coming back, because it's a big step up for Martin. Huge step up, Willem.
No, I agree at the end of the day. I think as well with those youth players in pre-season, often you do get an indication from it. And I mean, for me personally, how I always look at it is I look at not last year's pre-season, the pre-season before it. And we didn't have a very good preseason that year, by the way. I think that was the one where we lost like 4-0 to United, and then we got another couple of results where we didn't really go. But I remember seeing Bajcetic for the first couple of games those times. And I remember just looking at him and being in awe. Remember just looking at him and going, oh my God, we've got this kid. Look at him, he's running everywhere. He's intercepting every ball he can find. I was just in awe of him. And I remember just looking at that. And there's certain youth players where you get that, where you see him come through. And okay, Bajcetic hasn't gone alone, but he could be going on alone this year. Who knows? Because he's just had a long-term injury and he's come off it. I had the same with Bradley a couple of years ago when it was one of the first few preseasons he was coming in, where I really looked at Bradley and I was like, okay, wow, well, it's good to know we do have a really good young right back coming in. And obviously, and it went quiet on Bradley for quite a long time as well, because he had that, he had the loan last year at Bolton, and he was not last year, sorry, season before. We're kind of struggling now, at which point I have to say last year and the year before, because the season now after last season hasn't really started. But even with Bradley, when you look at it, when he was on loan at Bolton, he was player of the year there in League One already, and they were literally putting 2 defenders on him and from a right back position going into it. And whilst Tyler Morton had a good season, I don't think he's had that kind of impact necessarily on a loan spell or
like Harvey Elliott at Blackburn, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Another one as well. And even with Carvalho now, for example, a lot of people saying Carvalho's been really good, and I still personally haven't been that impressed with him, even from the bits that I've seen at Hull. I think he did a lot better, obviously a lot better than what he did at Leipzig, but it was going to be pretty hard to do worse than his loan spell at Leipzig from the first 6 months. But I do feel sometimes that in the preseason and just kind of the other games, looking at these games enough, you do get more of an indication of where the potential, kind of the ceiling of the potential of the player is. And whilst I do think Morton's a very good player, I think Morton would be a very good player for, to put it bluntly, for like a team like West Ham or Brighton, or so a team that's kind of mid-table, that kind of goes from 8th to 12th position in the Prem. and is a really solid, stable player in there. But I think they probably just lack that little bit to really go to the top level. And that is probably at this point where my stance is with Morton.
Nelson, just on your comment here, I would like Nico Williams to replace Diaz and Johan Bakayoko to replace Mo Salah. Do that mean you want Diaz to go this summer and Mo Salah to go this summer and straight replace him this summer? Or are you willing for Bakayoko to back up Salah until next season? And Paul says Martin Bacecic, Endo, LFC plans for the 6th. That would be a huge mistake, Paul, if I'm honest. That would be suicide, if I'm honest. That really would be bad if we went with that, because even Endo himself has come out and said, let's get a fucking 6. And if the player's coming out and saying it, the guy that's in that position says, come on, I need some competition, then no one else is really going to say it after that. Just before we go, boys, a little bit on Lenny Yoro, obviously. He looks Real Madrid bound, let's be honest. He's pretty much Real Madrid bound, but I could still come to Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool and PSG are waiting there with their legs wide open. Waiting around. I mean, what we're waiting for, Kev?
I don't know. Personally, I think we should realistically move on. I hate waiting in the wings of a Real Madrid player, and he's come out and said he wants Real Madrid. The problem you've got is that you then got a player on your hands that you buy who will inevitably be Real Madrid bound from the minute he joins the club. And when he has that one good season, is he willing to stay away from Real Madrid? Or is that going to entice them more to come out and we end up selling them? I think there's better options in the market. But that said, I don't know why we're waiting, because I just think even if it does collapse, I can see the player staying where he is and running his contract down and getting him on a free next season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just don't see the waiting, and it's just futile for me.
Do you think the biding time, Willem?
I mean, I'm also the same opinion where I don't get why we're still waiting at this point, because, like Kev said as well, if this player is so fixated on going to Madrid already right now, even if we sign him on a 5-year deal, the minute he has kind of like we had with Coutinho as well, the minute Coutinho was really performing at his best, Barcelona came in and he immediately wanted to leave, and it was both in the summer, the summer before we sold him in that January, and in that January where we didn't see him play for the whole month of August until the transfer window was over. And then it said he had a little injury and stuff and everything. But the first game he was back, he was unbelievable again. So I refuse to believe that. And then in January, it was exactly the same. We just moved him on swiftly because we were getting such an incredible amount that we were like, well, we got to sell him at this point. Because still to this day, if we look back on it, the fact that we got 145 million for a player, or I think in pounds it was 130 million pounds or something. It was probably less, but in euros at that time, it was crazy. And to be fair, we were completely right to sell him, because I mean now I don't think even for Mo Salah nowadays we'd probably be getting that fee anymore. And yeah, I think I said it in the group last year as well. It's almost like being a cock for a girlfriend who isn't even your wife, or for a girl who you're interested in. As in, it's just, I don't get why you're seeing someone else go away with her, but yet you're like, no, I'll be waiting. I'll be fine. I'm just waiting here.
You pat the guy in the back. You pat the guy in the back and have a good weekend. Have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. I'm glad that you're having fun. And then
I'll be back here when you come back off the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm not a fan of it at all, to be fair. And it looks like all the from what I'm reading, that even if they don't get a deal done this summer, his deal expires next summer anyway.
Yeah.
So he'll just run his contract down and go to Madrid anyway. Also mostly for that, the fact that he's been so outspoken that he wants to go to Madrid, even if we were to get him, I don't get why you would get him, because honestly, he would want to leave in 2-3 years anyway.
Paul says here, so Damon, which 6 do you want? Caicedo and Rice not available? Well, my number 1 was Ugarte. It was Ugarte quite last season after Caicedo. So he'd been my number 2 last season before Caicedo went to Chelsea. But yeah, Ugarte definitely is someone that I'm very, very interested in watching. I've seen him a couple of times for Uruguay and a couple of times for his before I went to join PSG. Sorry. And he's definitely someone that I do like. There's not many 6s out there, but we still definitely need one at least to come in because I don't think we can rely on Endo this season the way we did last season, and I certainly don't want to see McAllister back at 6. Not a chance. I will. My tail will be out of the room if I see McAllister back at 6. Honestly, sign Yoro and give him 200 million of these cars if he still goes to 100 if we still win. Paul, why are you not out? Why are you not our chief executive, Paul? You've got some great ideas here. I like the look of Calafiore. Shame Arsenal getting in. Well, that's the thing. Arsenal are rightly being ambitious here. You know, they're still behind Man City. They still want to challenge again. They might not win the league next season. You know, also, and there's going to be questions asked about Arteta if they don't win the league or win a cup next season. But at least they're doing what they can off field. You know, and they know they have to go again and know that they've got to improve. They did it with Trossard. They got Trossard in. Go again. They got Havertz in, even though they had Gabriel Jesus. They've got to give competition. They've got to build that squad. And so what if he gives competition to someone like Ben White or gives competition to someone like Julian Timber? That's what it's about. These guys need competition to push for the title. They need to keep on the toes. Anyone drops off, they've got someone to replace them straight there. Calafiore comes in, the levels don't drop. And that's how you stay in title races. And that's how Arsenal won the title race last season. We weren't really in the end. Kev, will England beat Swiss?
It depends if Bellingham gets a ban for what he did after he scored.
Before you go, what's your thoughts on that?
Let's put it this way: he's got that Madrid mentality. Yeah. He comes across as a bit of a git, but that's the way he is. That's the way he plays. He backs it up, though, doesn't he? He backs it up. So I've got no problem with it. The problem is that you can go a bit too far and it riles up. And the problem with that is that could possibly be his downfall. But that said, you have to. And this is the thing. It's emotional sport, and I think refs and everyone tends to forget that. There's now a conspiracy theory that because England are playing Switzerland, UEFA's home base is in Switzerland, so that means then that Bellingham's going to get banned and they're going to win. I don't believe in that conspiracy theory myself, although I do like it. It's very, it's
quite believable. It's quite believable. Yeah, it's quite believable.
It is when you say it fast. But when you start breaking it down, it doesn't make any sense. I think Swiss will give them a good game. England, as you've seen all every single game this in the Euros, they lack energy, and he has to rip that. Whatever the plan is, it's a bit like a joke with Southgate. A lot of people get it straight away. A lot of people need time, and need it to be explained, and needs it to be gone through 3 or 4 times before the joke he actually gets it. And that's what it looks like with the players he's got. He's got to find a way of playing these dynamic, potentially quality players that England have got. But that's down to England to find that formula. I think the Swiss will give them a game, and I can see it being a draw, and it'll probably go to penalties. I'd probably paint a wall at the same time and probably be watching that instead.
You'll be celebrating your election results. Sticking with England and Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously, it just said about Southgate not changing things up. He actually might be forced to change things up this Saturday, and Trent Alexander-Arnold may get a start. We don't know yet. It's just reports on formation change. 3-5-2 is what it looks like it's going to be on Saturday. Which way Trent would probably come in, I presume. I think he's changed this just to get Trent in. To be honest, at right back.
I personally think that because I think the original report came out from the fact that they saw 3 plastic men put up in the training ground, kind of as a setup.
Hey, there's no need. Did it? I thought Arne Maguire said it. There's no need for stuff like that.
No, but I mean, I don't know what they're called, but you know the ones I mean, the one for the walls for the free kicks and stuff, and the men they put down as the type.
Some people call them Maguire and his brothers, yeah. But
Maguire's or Richard Sons or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
No, I honestly think it's probably going to be looked into it too much because let's be honest, he hasn't changed anything all tournament and he still's gotten through. I don't see why all of a sudden now he's going to make a massive change, even with Gay being out. I think it's more that it's become more of a story than what it probably is end up going to be. Because I think, apart from the fact that he has to replace Gehi, I don't see him really changing anything. I don't see him changing formation. I don't see him changing the way of playing. I wouldn't be surprised if we still see Trippier left back, Foden left wing, and just see the same lineup we've pretty much expected. Because, to be fair, because if he was a good manager and a smart manager, he would have changed the system 2 games ago already, and he's just not. So I think also in that sense, I think it's become more of a story, kind of like on the speculation of it necessarily than it actually happening. I personally can't see him do it.
People like wishing it to come into fruition.
Yeah, wishing for it like a desperation.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, I think any normal, like any England fan who isn't thinking purely on the bias of yes, England, we're going to do it. I think they can admit that this Switzerland game is going to be really hard, and if he doesn't change anything up, it's not looking good. So, and I think that is also more the reality of it. I think people are clinching onto it in the hope that he will finally change because the change is needed. However, I don't think he will. And if it is a change, I think it will be minimal. So I think he will just directly replace Gay in the lineup and for the rest not change anything, to be honest.
Paul says here, Trump or Sunak was better? Southgate, Paul, Southgate. Before you do go, guys, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like tonight's stream. Join us every single night at 7 o'clock, especially with the Euros being on. I don't know if we go to 7 o'clock every time now until after Euros, but that we will let you all know at home if we do go to 7 o'clock as a regular thing. Just to sum up tonight's news stories, obviously Mats Weifer, a verbal agreement for Brighton. Liverpool did try get in, but really late, a bit like Moises Caicedo thing last year with Chelsea. Thought they could get him late on, but the groundwork had already been done by Brighton. He looks like he's going to Brighton. Anthony Gordon's agent is pushing for a Liverpool move, which is not surprising at all because he's a Scouser, boyhood club. Makes sense for Anthony Gordon to want to come to Liverpool, and Newcastle already offering him on a plate. Summerville, there has been personal talks, according to reports, ESPN in Holland, that he has spoken to Arne Slot. Whatever you make of that, make do with that. If you want Summerville, fair enough, get it in the chat. If you want Summerville, let us know. But the majority of us three here, we don't want Summerville. We're not really excited about that. PSG are waiting. PSG and Liverpool, are waiting for Lenny Yoro, who looks pretty much Madrid bound. Again, we don't know why Liverpool are waiting around, but there's questions. And what I will say for everyone, yes, me, myself, and Willem, Kev's sort of like don't know. You don't really have a full opinion on FSG, do you, really, Kev? Not in or out, really. It's more like sort of keep the door open to any sort of opinion, and you could change your opinion just like that in terms of that. But me and Willem are FSG, and what will I say about FSG is, someone said to me, I saw a tweet earlier saying something like, at least it's not Hicks and Gillette, but just because one thing's really, really bad doesn't mean like the other one isn't as bad. I compared the FSG being Sunak and was it Hicks and Gillette being Boris Johnson, which is I thought was a decent comparison in terms of like Boris Johnson just fucked up the whole shit. But I do think FSG are doing good things. I think they've still got a time to show their ambition right now. If they could show their ambition and say, look here, Edwards, here's what you need. Go get what needs, not just wants, but needs for the season, and give him a good run. We're not expecting a title this season. If we don't get the title, we're not Slot out. We're not Edwards out. We're not. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. Third place finish is what is probably everyone's asking for. I'd say definitely not far from where we were last season, but certainly not a title race. But just give Slot what he needs to go and possibly get a title run next season or the season after. We can't be rest on our laurels here and stand still. Arsenal doing the business now. I will be patient, by the way. Kev knows I'll be patient, but patience will soon at some point run out. And I think Kev's going to get his popcorn further down the line for the next few weeks for Thursday nights. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, if wherever the weather is good for you guys. Enjoy Americans. Please enjoy the rest of the 4th of July, and you can enjoy your election results tomorrow as well. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.